Hello, Scratch programmers. This is Chris working on project number 3 with you. We've done a knock knock joke, played with an aquarium, saw the fish move around, and this is usually the part where the kids start telling me, hey, I want to control some of these characters, some of the sprites, because when you play a game, you have to control the characters. So we go over and we look in the events tab. And this, when the green flag is clicked, is what we generally use. But you look at the next block, and it says when the space key is pressed. And this is one way that we can control characters. There are other ways. We'll get to them in other projects. But we're going to start with the space key being pressed here. And our first action, let's just see if we can move 10 steps. And you'll see how that works by pressing the space key. And the cat moves 10 steps. He's moving to the right 10 steps. Let's see if we can use the right arrow. You see the drop down lets you assign any key, practically, not any key, but most keys. Right arrow key pressed moves the cat to the right 10 steps. So let's add the left arrow, right? Correct, I should say. The left arrow, correct? And there we want to move the other direction. So the other direction, sometimes the opposite of 10 is minus 10. Minus sign. And now you press the right arrow key, moves 10 steps. You press the left arrow key and it moves backwards 10 steps, which maybe is okay. Maybe we want the cat to turn around. So how do we turn around? We can point in a different direction. And if we point, we want to point before we move that direction. So when the left arrow key is pressed, let's point into the direction. You see how 90 is to the right? Negative 90 is to the left. So let's point to the left and move negative 10 steps. Press the arrow key. And what is that? Our cat is upside down, moving backwards now. Well, hopefully from the fish at the aquarium, you remember how to fix this upside down problem. We go into the information view of the Scratch Cat, change its rotation style, left and right. Now when we press the left key, he's facing left, but he's still moving backwards. And so we don't want it to move negative 10 steps. We want our cat to move 10 steps forward, not 19, but 10. And now when we press left, it's moving forward 10 steps and pacing to the left. But when we hit the right arrow key, still just moving 10 steps. It's not changing directions. So here we want to add another point in direction, 90 degrees. And now the cat moves to the right, moves to the left. So it's always moving forward. We just had to change the direction that the cat moves in. He's gliding here. So one thing that helps a little bit with animation is if you have a couple different costumes, you can make it look like the cat is walking. And if we look in the costumes tab, there are a couple costumes here for Scratch Cat that we start with. We can go back to the scripts, and in the looks is where we control the costume. We can switch to a specific costume. That's maybe if you're going to get dressed up for a particular event or something like that, you switch that costume and stay in it. But for animation, you want to switch between the costumes pretty frequently. So we can just always go to the next costume. When the right arrow key is pressed, switch to the next costume. And it looks like Scratch Cat's moving along, at least scooting along there a little bit. When the left key is pressed, we need to switch to the next costume as well. You can tap it, and the faster you tap it, the smoother it looks. If you hold it down, Scratch Cat looks really busy running back and forth. Why would Scratch Cat be running back and forth, though? Well, let's start to make our game. It'll be a simple little game, and we'll have Scratch Cat. Let's move him down to the bottom, running around on the bottom of the screen, trying to catch basketballs falling from the sky. Okay, so let's move him down a little bit, and let's add a new sprite. We're going to add a basketball for Scratch Cat to be catching. Okay. Here's our ball. Here's our cat. We want the ball to start up from the top and fall down. So how do we do that? We want the ball to move down. So we're going to go to our events, and we want the ball to move down, not when you necessarily hit a key, but when you start the game. So if we say when the green flag is clicked, the game's going to start. And then we want to move down. So we will point in direction. And we want to point down. So that's 180 degrees down. And I don't think it's going to matter too much what our rotation style is because it's a ball. And we move 10 steps. So if we do that, and you see the ball's moving 10 steps. Okay, but we want it to move down more than 10 steps. We want it to move down pretty much until it touches the bottom, right? So we go into our control, and here's where we have these loops. We can repeat 10 times. That's probably not going to be enough. We can do forever. That's probably too long. Some ifs, some wait untils, and then there's this repeat until. And that sounds like what we want it to do. We want to repeat moving down until we hit the bottom of the screen, right? So let's put that around our movement of 10 steps. And on sensing, these are the things we repeat until we're doing something. We can sense that we're touching, not the mouse pointer, but if we look at it, if we're touching the edge. So now we can drop the ball and it stops when it touches the edge. Hit the green flag again, but it's already down there at the edge. Okay. We need to reset the ball up top. So if you move the ball around, remember you can see as I move it around down here at the X and Y locations, you can see what its address is, what its coordinates are on the screen. They're changing around. Let's just leave it here for now. This seems like a good height to start at. 137. So if I go to motion and I say go to, these values are the same values that it is at right now, 21 and 137. So we can say when the green flag is clicked, go there, and then drop the ball. Does it. Now when I start over again, it keeps doing that. One thing you should be careful of, if it doesn't work for you, if your ball gets stuck up here, maybe you had 150. If it gets stuck up there and doesn't fall down, that's because it's touching the edge already. There's 4 edges on the screen here. You have it on the bottom, the sides, and the top. And if it's touching that edge, it's not going to move. So if your ball is too big or too high, it's touching the edge up on the top, that's one reason why it wouldn't be moving down. So move it down just a little bit. Start a little bit lower. I forgot what I had, 137. Maybe even shrink the ball a little bit, so it's not too scary for Scratch Cat. Maybe even shrink Scratch Cat a little bit. Move them around. Okay. So now when we hit the green flag, the ball falls down. It's falling kind of fast. How do we change how fast it goes? How do we slow the ball down? We change how many steps it moves each time through. So maybe we'll start with 3. And there it floats down. Our cat walks around. The cat and the ball don't know about each other yet, but the ball does stop there. So, how can we have the cat and the ball know about each other? When the green flag is clicked, the ball starts to fall down, but the cat's not doing anything. Let's go to the cat and see what it can do. When the green flag is clicked, maybe it will always, we'll say forever, check to see if it's touching the ball. And if it is touching the ball, we can say, I don't know, we can think something, think or say, got it. And now let's see what happens. The ball falls, the cat hits it, it says, got it. Okay. Is that a fun game? What do we want to do after we get the ball? Well, we want another ball, don't we? All right. So what we have here is that the ball, when it's falling down, repeats till it's touching the edge, and it moves 3 steps. We could, once it gets to the bottom, start up at the top again. And so that would be something where like we're always just going to keep doing it over and over again. The ball falls. We say we got it. Touches the bottom. We say we got it. Touches the bottom. Goes back up to the top. And that's a little bit better. We're getting a bit more of the game, but the ball's always in the same place. So it's easy to catch. What we want to do is have the ball sometimes be here, sometimes be over here, sometimes be over here, right? Moving around. And you see when it moves around like this, down here, what value is changing? The x value is changing a lot. And so if we want to start over here, this is x equals minus 215. And all the way over to here, where x equals 207. So we pretty much want the x value here to change between negative 210 and positive 210. And this operator section was how we pick random numbers. And so we can just pick a random number each time. And we said, let's make it from negative, let's say 2005 or 205, sorry, to positive 205. And now when we run it, it goes there, and now the ball's moving around in different locations. It's starting to be a little bit more of a game, right? The cat has to go and get it. What's strange, though, is the ball only disappears when it hits the bottom, not when the cat's touching it. And it'd kind of be good to reset when the cat touches it, too, don't you think? So we repeat until we're touching the edge, or we're touching the cat, really, right? So let's bring over our operator that has or in it, and we'll say touching the edge, and we'll put that where touching the edge used to be, or touching sprite 1, our cat. And so now it moves there, and when it touches the cat grabs it, and the new ball starts falling down. All right, that's getting better. But maybe we want to say the game's over when the ball hits the ground. When the cat has missed the ball, we've lost. So when we get to the end of this repeat, before we go put the ball back at the top again, we need to check to see if the player has lost the game, if we let it touch the edge. So we repeat till we're touching the edge or touching sprite 1. We keep moving down. And then after that, we need to check, are we touching the edge? And if we are touching the edge, then the game is over. So what will we do here? If touching the edge, not the mouse pointer, not the sprite 1, but the edge, then what are we going to do? Can we make the ball say game over? And then have to stop everything because we don't want to say game over. Well, let's try it. The ball falls down, says game over, and then it starts again. We don't want to start again. We want to just say game over, and it would be done. So here, in these control blocks, you see after this repeat until, there's this stop. And that's a way of telling everyone to stop. So let's do, say game over, and then stop. It's like hitting the stop sign here. It says game over, and then the game is over. Now this guy still moves around because the green flags, Scratch Cat does this part of saying got it when the green flag is clicked. So he doesn't say got it anymore, but it is still responding to the right and left arrow keys being pressed. That's not something we can really stop, but we can say game over, and now everything stops. So now it looks like our game is almost there. We can catch basketballs. We can miss basketball. It'll say game over. Scratch Cat thinks he still gets it, but doesn't really. So there's a game. What else could we add to this game to make it feel a little more game-like? At this point, the class is usually yelling at me, we need a background. We need a background, right? Because you don't play catch in a blank white screen. All right, so let's go to the stage and let's add a new backdrop. And you see right up here at the top, there's a basketball court. That seems like it's pretty fitting. Let's add the basketball court. Let's try the green flag now. Scratch Cat's on the court, catching some basketballs. But I don't know how many balls I'm catching. So when I play and I compare to you, I can't really tell who's better. I just know, hey, I got a bunch of them. So games usually have this thing called a score, and that's how you tell how good you did. You think we can add a score to this? Yeah, I think we can. And this is an interesting thing because we'll add a score using the backdrop. All right. So again, we're going to wait till the green flag is clicked. And when the green flag is clicked, that means the game is starting, and we're going to create a score for it. And to do that, we use the data blocks. Here we say make a variable. We'll make a variable. We'll call it score. And this variable is something that we're going to be able to change its value over time or as things happen in the game. And the value, well, the score is going to go up as you do good things. And maybe it goes down as you do bad things, but that would be lives usually when you have a game. We're just going to play with one life here in this game. And we're going to set the score to 0 when we start. And you see the score value is up here and it's shown. So you can say, hey, there's our score. I'm going to run over and get the ball. I got it. Our score is not changing. Why isn't our score changing? Well, we didn't tell it when to change the score, right? We only said set the score to 0 when the game starts. And when should the score go up? Pretty much when Scratch Cat says, I got it, right? So when we go to the Scratch Cat's code and we look, we say when the green flag is clicked, always check to see if we're touching the basketball. And if we are, we say got it. Well, let's also change the score. And so one of them is setting the score to a value. Another one of these blocks is changing the score by a value. So let's change the score by 1 and then say got it. Now when we run it, we say got it. And you can see in the upper left-hand corner up here that our score is going up. 2, 3, 4, 5. I can catch these balls, no problem. Right? So this keeps on going on. And now, when you lose this game and it's game over, uh-oh, I got a point for it there. But you can see, oh, well, I caught 13 balls before it was over, or 12, maybe. Maybe we cheated a little bit there. We'll work on that. That's a bug, right, that we caught this last ball. So, when the green flag is clicked, forever, check the score by 1, change the score by 1 when we touch the ball and say got it. All right. But we're saying game over for 2 seconds before we really stop the game. And that's kind of something, that's where our bug is coming, because during these 2 seconds while the ball is there, Scratch Cat's picking up points. So we don't want to say game over for 2 seconds and wait before stopping the game. We want to stop the game right away. And we need to tell the user that the game is over, though. Maybe the basketball is not the best way to do it. We can go back to our backdrop. And let's go to the backdrops, like the costumes that it has. These are similar to the costumes. And maybe we should make 2 of them. We'll make one for the game, and then we'll make another one. We'll duplicate this one. Right-click on that and hit duplicate. And we'll make another one that says game over on the screen. So we'll use a marker. Change your text to yellow. Yellow, I think, stands out. And then you click on where we want to say game over. Again, I'm using marker font instead of Helvetica. If your font looks a little different, that's okay. But if you want to change it, you can play around with these font values here to see different fonts. And you click outside it. If you want to move it around a little bit, you can move it around. We'll put it right up here. And there we go. So now I have 2 different backdrops. I'm going to name this one game over. You can see the naming of your backdrop is right up here. And I want to start this, or I want to name this one game starting. Okay. So when our game is starting, we want to have a clear backdrop. And when it's over, it says game over on it. So now, when the green flag is clicked, we need to make sure that we have switch the backdrop to game over. No, we want to do game starting as our background. And then when the basketball hits the ground, instead of the basketball saying game over, we want to switch the backdrop to game over. And actually, we want to get rid of the saying part. We can put it back in there, recycle it, and we switch the backdrop to game over. And now the basketball won't be around for 2 seconds saying game over. It just says game over. Scratch Cat can't cheat and get more points. Got 0 points. But if we hit the green flag, we get rid of the game over, and here goes the ball. Okay. Going around catching it, and I think I said a little bit earlier, I could catch this ball forever. So the game doesn't get harder the longer I play it, right? The ball's always falling at the same speed. Is that something we could change to make the game harder? Could be. Let's take a look at our basketballs program here. We say we're always going to go to this random spot, point down, and then until we're touching the bottom, we're going to move 3 steps. And if we're touching the bottom, then the game's over. And that move 3 steps, when we started at 10, we felt, wow, that's kind of fast. And it is kind of fast. So that's why we went to 3. But maybe that's something that we could change over the time or that you're playing the game. That it gets harder the longer you play it. So we can do that by making another variable. Well, we'll call this variable the speed of the ball, maybe, right? So speed. And the speed is something that we don't want to show the user when they're playing the game. We want to keep that a secret for ourselves. So you can use these check marks here to decide which variables you show to the user and which variables the user doesn't need to know about. So we won't show them the speed. And when the green flag is clicked, let's set the speed initially. We set 3 was a good speed to start with. And let's run this now. Wait a second, that's faster than 3 still. Oh, why do you think that is? We set the speed to 3, but the ball is still moving at 10. We're not using the speed. We set the speed to 3, but we always move 10 steps. To use the speed, come over, grab this little speed pill and drop it in there. And now it will move at the speed that we set it to. So that's good. But the speed's not changing. It's staying 3. Well, okay. We need to change the speed, right? And so when do we want to change the speed? Do we want to change it every step it takes? Every time it moves 3 steps, change it so it moves faster? Whoa! It starts moving really fast. Starts at 3, but every time it takes some steps going down, that's too fast. We really want to change the speed every time we go through the loop, every time we've touched the edge or sprite 1, or maybe the cat could change the speed after it catches the ball. Every time we get a point. Oh, we don't want to set the speed, sorry. We want to change the speed by 1. How would that look? So it starts off at 3. Now it goes to 4. Now the speed is 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. Is it really changing? Well, remember we said we didn't want to change the speed for the users. Well, we didn't want to show them it, but we could look at it ourselves while we're making this and see if it works. So speed is 3. And now the speed is 4, and 5, and 6. But it's not really changing. Right? What could be going on there? We're still moving speed steps. Three, 4. It is going a little bit faster, isn't it? It's just that it really takes a little while. And then I can't get up past 8. So we're moving a little bit faster every time the ball drops. And if the ball's far away, it's going to be hard to get. But if it's close, you can get there in time. Really got to move quick. And then there, instantly game over. So we saw that the speed got up to 11. And the number of balls I caught was 8. So you don't need to show the speed once you make sure. And you can check for yourself that it's all working as you thought. You can hide the speed again and come back and check and see that the gameplay is the way you're thinking it should be. Now maybe moving up 1 is too fast. It gets too hard too quickly. Well, then we can just change the speed by 0.5 or something smaller. 0.5. And when you do that, the ball will still increase speed, but just not by that much. So you can get a little bit higher of a score, maybe. So let's see, what we've covered today in this project is variables. We learned about variables. We learned about making the backdrop represent when the game is over. We learned about how to use keys to control characters and sprites. And we had a lot of exercise with repeating until and all touching and a lot of sensing and making sure these characters know about each other so that they can create some logic about the game. But variables and keeping score is a big thing, and I think that's one of the key ideas we want to have as we keep on going forward, making more complicated games, because score is a big part of games, right? Okay, you can post and tell me your highest score if you can beat mine, which is, might be just 10 or 11. Or 10 or 11. We still cheated a little bit there, maybe. Well, good luck. Let me know how your game was.